3 wins for the Cubs and the White Sox. Basketball Hall of Famer Don Nelson died at the age of 86. NASCAR win for Ty Gibbs. Alex Palou, the IndyCar winner.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Bowen, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Chambers delivers! Touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
And welcome into another edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports here. Not going to talk too much about the Tide today, although we did get to go to Alabama football practice. So if you want to see if you want to read what we heard about at the University of Alabama earlier this morning here, go check out Tide109.com. We put out an article about that here. We spoke with offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, so we'll have plenty of content coming out here from the University of Alabama as they are preparing for the 2026 college football season. We got the main man, Whitman Clark, man in the ones and twos, back in the Tide 100.9 studio. Whitman, how you doing?
I'm great. Bright, sunny Monday morning, hot Monday morning, but
very hot.
We're inching closer to football, man. That's all I can ask for. Only a couple more Mondays until we are losing our mind in here over whatever 20 and 21-year-olds do running around on grass. And I could not be more excited.
Winners and losers is back for another season. We'll do our winners, our losers, our big takeaways for games that happened over the course of the weekend. Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll kind of play those days by ear, but Thursday's prediction day, Friday's breakdown day, as we are getting closer to the college football season. I know we're 26 days away from Alabama. What are we from?
19 from week 0.
19 days away from the start of college football season. We got Ryan Bond hanging out with us here as well with the Deep South College Football Show. 19 days away from the start of the college football season. I can feel it. Like, there's a buzz in the city of Tuscaloosa. And it's not just because Bama Rush is going on. There's a buzz in Tuscaloosa because football season's almost here.
Let it be known, they get a buzz in their own right. That is a monster. That is a monster in and of itself.
It is. But, Ryan, we're so close to football season.
Yeah, it's week 0, and I don't think anybody really had TCU versus UNC played in Dublin, Ireland, circled on their bingo card about 3 years ago, waiting for a week 0 game. But hey, football's football. And if you really care about football that much, we had the Hall of Fame game almost a week ago last Thursday, and Haynes King. Wow.
What a literally king. What a king, Haynes King.
Let it be known that game happened. We had a complete full show after that game, and Wyatt did not mention that man's name one time.
I know.
Nor
he's in the NFL now. We don't care.
National champion runner-up Carson Beck. Little did we know that would turn into a snow flurry in Denver, Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady in Week 12 kind of matchup. But you take what you can get.
They're in the NFL at this point. And look, last I checked, this isn't the Deep South NFL show. Last I checked, not Deep South NFL. Deep South College Football Show. No, that North Carolina TCU game in week 0, it's calling to me like the Green Goblin mask. Like, I am itching for that football game in Dublin, Ireland.
While people are not a big fan of college football games being played overseas, the last 2 Ireland games have been absolute
phenomenal
thrillers.
You had, Georgia Tech beating Florida State a couple of seasons ago with our glorious king, Haynes King, our football savior, Haynes King, if you will. And then you had Kansas State and Iowa State in Farmageddon last year. A conference game got played in Dublin, Ireland. Say what you want about that. Didn't love that. But my God, that was an entertaining football game.
I was able to survive and I was able to get the end of both of those games in the last 2 years. However, The first one, I had to watch the end of the game eating lunch with, and at the time, girlfriend and her parents. So I had to manage the mother-in-law while doing this up above her head, trying to watch Florida State and Georgia Tech. And then the last year I was able to catch it while playing a round of golf. I'll take the latter.
I was also playing golf.
I'll take the latter. I was also
playing golf.
What course were you at that day?
I was at a golf resort in Rise and Fawn, Georgia.
Okay, I was at Colony, so a little different there.
Look, that is the nicest golf course I've ever played in Rising Fawn, Georgia. Don't know the name of it. Don't want to know the name of it because I know I will never be able to afford to go back there again. But really nice golf course, really nice place. The carts, you could the little TV that tells you how far along, how far behind the pace of play you are.
Those are nice.
They connected to ESPN.
Oh, you got the one with the TV in it.
Like an actual TV, not just a screen, an actual TV in it.
That's nice.
So threw up Farmageddon on the on the golf cart there.
I've seen that circled around on social media the last couple of years when September and October rolls around, and it's that same question that comes up. What would it take for the golf course to, golf courses with those GPSs, to install NFL Red Zone for Sunday afternoon rounds of golf?
Ooh, that could be a lot of fun, but no.
Now, don't go out there expecting to play in 3 hours. Because
no, you have 3 tee times that day.
Course alcohol sales are going to go up. Course attendance is going to go up. However, pace of play is probably going to slow down due to.
That's fine.
I mean, it's okay though. If you're all right with that, if you're all right with that, 55 degrees, 50 degrees, depending on where you are in the country. 2 in the afternoon, you go play your round of golf. 1 o'clock slate ends as you end. The 4:30 slate kicks off as you finish. You get home in time to watch the second half of those games, settle in for Sunday night. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to turn myself.
I got chills. Literally, I got chills right now thinking about this.
I'll go till 1:30 tomorrow.
I literally have chills thinking about this. But no, that week 0 slate, they're not going to be great games. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. North Carolina, TCU might be the more entertaining of the slate. But you've got NC State and Virginia. Hey, we're going to get to see the USC Trojans play San Jose State. We get the first ever FBS game as an FBS member for North Dakota State. They play Jacksonville State. Sacramento State, same thing. First ever game as an FBS team against Eastern Michigan. Hawaii gets to go to Stanford on the ACC network at 6 p.m. You can even dual box the 6 p.m. slate with Hawaii and Stanford and then New Mexico State and Florida State. And then we all get to fade off in the night after a glorious day of week 0 of college football with Memphis and UNLV. By the way, did you guys see the throw and catch that Alex Orji had earlier today at UNLV practice?
Missed that one.
That was a nice.
It was nice. It was nice. I'd go look that up if I were you, Whitman, because that was a really nice throw from Alex Orji. Yes, that's his last name.
One of my favorite things about week 0 that they've done in the last couple years, I know some people are pro week 0 and some are anti week 0. You never want to see a top 5 game in week 0. You didn't want to see Texas, Ohio State before the actual start of the regular season. So you're never going to get a real ranked game. You may get one, but you're never going to get a true awesome Georgia, Alabama style football game in week 0.
No.
I think
you'll get a ranked team.
What I think they've done a really good job of is setting small storylines in week 0. North Dakota State's first FBS game for people to watch. Florida State kind of gets a bit of a day to theirself so people can put eyes on Mike Norvell and Florida State. You get to see Jaden Mayava's USC campaign start earlier than everybody else's. You get to see what does a possible Lincoln Riley playoff team look like. Bill Belichick, is he a dead man walking before week 1 even starts at North Carolina against TCU? How does that look? So a lot of interesting storylines that I think the NCAA does a good job with, or whoever schedules these games does a good job with in selecting them to be in week 0.
Yeah.
It's the perfect balance of good teams, not great games. You don't want to overload yourself at one time. It's a great way of working yourself into week 1. And I will say whoever deserves credit for week 0 scheduling should get it. It's not too much, 100%. But it's not too little.
It's not too much, but after the doldrums of the offseason, by that point, we'll have watched a couple of weeks of NFL preseason, and it's this is the ugliest football I've ever seen. There are dudes on this field that, weren't even starters. Most of their weren't even starters. They're fine. Like, there's a wide receiver that's going to catch a pass in the preseason, never started a football game, but he was the fourth wide receiver for 4 straight years. And that's how he ended up getting a shot in the NFL. So I'm all for it. Love football. God, I can't wait for week 0, man. I got chills thinking about the storylines that you had mentioned, like NDSU and Sacramento State, their first game. Jada Maava's campaign at USC. Can he replicate the success he had last season? Is Bill Belichick a dead man walking before the season ever kicks off? Because for about a quarter and a half last season, North Carolina looked like they were going to the national championship. Now, they didn't, but for, a nice, fun Monday night, Labor Day, as we're, trying to recover while simultaneously still partaking because we got work on Tuesday morning. But on a Monday night, it was a hell of a lot of fun getting to watch Gio Lopez in North Carolina.
The schedule makers knew what they were doing, making Bill Belichick's first ever collegiate game on a Monday night. Giving him one last little taste of the NFL. And I was really interested to see, looking back now, to see the dynamic of the NFL style coach, the prototype NFL
style coach,
going to college, getting a NFL styled schedule week 1, how that would play out. And for a minute, it looked like he was playing. It looked like they were driving it down the field against the New York Jets, and Gio Lopez was wearing number 12. And then
for a minute there, it looked like Bill Belichick merged onto the highway doing 80 miles an hour and was about to just race by everybody. And then you hear a ka-boom, and the car just immediately
transmission dropped out after the second mile marker on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And
you hear a ka-boom, and the car came to a screeching halt.
Back into the car, over the front end of the car. Bill Belichick's just hanging upside down, holding on to the steering wheel.
He's just sitting there. Is this really what life has become? Is this really where I'm at in my life right now?
Bill Belichick just figured out about life after high school.
I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. Really, really excited about college. We're just a bunch of good old boys that love talking ball, love watching football here. We get NFL preseason again this weekend. Whitman, Ryan, we got a show full of Packers fans right now. We get Green Bay on Thursday night, NFL Network. They play Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Excuse me, they probably are playing Will Howard and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I am not afraid to admit it. The Packers will consider themselves lucky if I so much as check the final score of that game.
All right, and on that note, we're going to take our first time out on the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9.
9,000. That's 900,000 for a free consultation. No fees unless we win. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than that of other lawyers.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Hey, coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we'll talk to Martin Houston. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. Blake Toppmeyer swings by from USA Today. We'll continue our camp coverage around the University of Alabama. Another practice day. Line Grub Talks. We listen starting at 2 p.m. on The Game on Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest-running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekday.
Nation, call 800-727-9105. 800-727-9105. 800-727-9105.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. The high today headed to 95 degrees. Guess what? It's going to feel even hotter. That heat index around 106 though. Factors humidity with a light breeze out of the south. And as temperatures heat up, there may be a few scattered thunderstorms developing. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sun. Any rain that does move in today will taper off through the evening with an overnight low dropping to 76. After some early sun tomorrow, some afternoon storms may pop up with a high of 94. And hot and humid Wednesday with afternoon storms at a high in the mid-90s. This is meteorologist Jeff Marr from the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 93 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
From Tuscaloosa to the world, download the free Tide 100.9 app for all the latest on Crimson Tide sports.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show. We spent the entire first segment just being some dudes talking ball, but let's actually dive into some football now, as it is Big 12 Prediction Day here on the Deep South College Football Show. We've talked about the SEC. We did a whole, breakdown of every SEC team in our previews and predictions for what's going on in the Southeastern Conference. We talked about the Big Ten, especially Oregon and Ohio State, who are kind of the front runners for that conference there. We talked about the ACC as well. And Whitman, I know you and I have had, I think, the same pick on every single one of these. You picked Georgia. I took Georgia, correct? You took Oregon or Ohio State. You took Ohio State.
As did you.
And I took Ohio State. I had to remember. Sorry. There's a lot of things running through my head right now. I took Ohio State. You took Ohio State. You took Miami. I took Miami. So right now our playoff bracket looks very, very similar with the top 4 seeds. But Ryan, because you were not a part of those shows, SEC champion.
Texas.
Big Ten champion.
Oregon.
ACC champion.
Miami.
All right. So Ryan is kind of going against the grain here, but these are the Big 12 odds here, courtesy of FanDuel Sports. Not a sponsor, could be. Shoot me a text or an email at wyatt.fulton@townsquaremedia.com. But these are the odds, courtesy of FanDuel Sports here. Texas Tech, despite, I know, weekly Brendan Sorsby mentioned, despite not having Brendan Sorsby, they're still the betting favorite to win the Big 12 here, with Will Hammond being that starting quarterback there. BYU comes in at number 2 at plus 550, Utah plus 850, Houston at plus 1500, with Kansas State rounding out the top 5 at plus 1600. So gentlemen, be thinking about this. When we do our dark horses, our rule is we cannot take anybody in the top 5. So that rules out Tech, BYU, Utah, Houston, and Kansas State. Anybody else is technically available if you want to pick them for a dark horse candidate. TCU comes in at plus 1700, Arizona State plus 2200. You've also got Arizona in that same vein at plus 2,200, Oklahoma State plus 2,700, and then a rather large gap from plus 2,700 with Oklahoma State to plus 4,000 with Baylor, plus 4,500 with West Virginia, plus 4,500 with UCF as well, and Kansas. Cincinnati sitting at plus 8,000, and they didn't fit on the screenshot, but Colorado and Iowa State are both dead last at plus 10,000 to win this conference. Is it still? Yeah, no, he's not there anymore. You can put the watch down. Thank you. Put the watch down. But is this Texas Tech's conference to lose, despite the fact that they don't have Brendan Sorsby?
You know, I think it's a good thing they lost Sorsby when they did. I'm not saying it's a good thing they lost him, but you didn't get through fall camp or part of fall camp, and then all of a sudden you're about to play week 1, and it's, oh, hey, by the way, your quarterback isn't allowed to play football anymore because he did X, Y, Z. I still think there's some gaps that they've got to figure out. And, you know, having Will Hammond, you got to figure out what's going to work for him because it's not going to be the same as Sorsby. Does their schedule favorite them? If Tech's schedule really favorites them heavily, then I think there's a good chance they can make it through. I still think they might drop 1 or 2. Obviously, I have my dark horse don't give it yet. I have my dark horse.
Your dark horse is on this schedule.
Yes, my dark horse is on this schedule. But yeah, I think if I'm looking at it now, I think if they do drop a game, I think it's going to be Houston. I think it's hysterical that they have to play at Cincinnati. Well,
that would have been so much fun if Brendan Sorsby was still on this roster.
I think it's more fun because he's not on the roster.
I guess that's fair because Sorsby was doing it at Cincinnati too.
So and
they are allegedly the ones that ratted him out.
Yeah, this
single
is going to
game
be the
sponsor, FanDuel, the FanDuel Bowl. That's what we call this, right?
Was he using FanDuel? Do we know what he was using?
Probably.
I imagine the site probably does not want their name attached to this.
BetMGM Bowl.
Kalshi Bowl.
Oh, somebody can sponsor this game. Make a lot of money.
Well, somebody can sponsor the game.
We'll just call it the Sports Gambling Bowl and be done with it.
Yeah. Brendan Sorsby can go play for the Houston Gamblers in the UFL. No, he can't. They don't exist anymore. Really hope you're training hard this season, Brendan Sorsby. But you look at the schedule here for Texas Tech: Abilene Christian at Oregon State, Sam Houston at Colorado, Arizona State at Cincinnati, Arizona to round out the month of October. We roll into November home against West Virginia, at Oklahoma State, at Baylor, and then at home against Texas Christian University. That is the TCU Horned Frogs there, who, I don't know. I mean, this does seem like a pretty favorable schedule. No BYU, who is the one team in that conference that, you know, has shown any signs of life against Texas Tech over the last couple of seasons here. No Utah, who, yes, they've got a new coach, but Utah was the third betting favorite to win this conference. So no Kansas State either, who you've always got to account for what Avery Johnson's going to do. It feels like Kansas State's kind of been the darling of the Big 12 for the last couple of seasons. Ever since that 2022 season, it feels like Kansas State has maybe been the darling of the Big 12. Everybody wants them to do well. That's not in the Big 12, and yet they just can't seem to get across that finish line. They can't seem to be the ones to go out there and actually do it. Somebody else has stepped up and taken that mantra of quote unquote the favorites in the Big 12. But this does feel like a very favorable schedule, even with the fact that you've got Will Hammond, who's coming off of an injury. And by the way, I would really recommend if you are in the media sphere, if you want to do a podcast, want to start a show, or you just want to watch college football, look at college football, watch ball, figure out, hey, you want to watch these games with a little bit of knowledge, I would recommend the 2deep.com. It's very similar to Our Lads, which is a website that I've been using fairly recently, but I took a look at the 2deep.com, and they've got just a full-on list of depth charts, rosters, eligibility with these guys. I mean, I'm looking at this here, right? All right. On offense here, Will Hammond is listed as the starting quarterback, 22% of snaps last season. That's pretty damn good. That's like being able to see that all on one screen when you're having to talk and move kind of at the pace that we do. It's very effective and very nice to have. They're not even sponsoring this. I just found this website. A couple of other media people that I talked to recommended it and just wanted to share it out there as well. The2deep.com. They've got college and NFL here. But when I look at this roster for Texas Tech, they're very veteran in a lot of the places that they need to be veteran in, right? Micah Hudson at wide receiver is going into his junior campaign. Kenny Johnson at wide receiver, he's a transfer portal addition from Pitt, but he's a senior, so he's played a lot of reps, right? Coy Eakin is a senior, so he may not necessarily have a ton of starting reps under his belt, but he's got a lot of college football under his belt. And then they went after it in the transfer portal along the offensive line. Howard Sampson, Hunter Zambrano, Jordan Church as well. Sheridan Wilson's back. Defensively, again, what they did last season of going into the transfer portal and finding a David Bailey, finding those guys that can be game wreckers, they went and did it again in the transfer portal with a lot of veteran guys. Mateen, I'm going to butcher this last name. He's a transfer from Wake Forest. Mateen Ibiroba, that's what we're going to roll with. Bryce Butler, Trey White, Adam Trick, Austin Romaine, Bryce Pollock, Amir Boyd, all of those are projected starters. They're seniors and they're transfers. So for Texas Tech, they've got a lot of veteran experience on that roster. Maybe not necessarily in Lubbock, but they've got a lot of experience on that roster. So can those guys mesh? And can't those guys that maybe weren't asked to play a ton of reps last season because of Jacob Rodriguez and David Bailey and some of the other stars on that roster, they may not have been asked to play a lot last year, or they may have just not even been in Lubbock, Texas last year, but they were not asked to play a lot for Texas Tech last season. Can they do it this year? Can they replicate that success? And look, Texas Tech was very, very good off the edge last season. So even if you see a little bit of a dip in production, that's my question for Texas Tech here. Yes, we expect you to be pretty good. Yes, we expect you to be okay. You're going to see a dip in production. Are you falling off the cliff? Are you going from top 5 to top 50? Or are you going from top 5 to top 20? Because if that's the case, then I do see, if it's the latter, then I do see Texas Tech with a very easy path to success here. Again, no BYU, no Kansas State, no Utah on this schedule here. Your, I guess, quote unquote, toughest game is what? Houston? In terms of the odds to win the conference, Houston was 4th. They're the highest rated. They're the highest team on this schedule.
It could develop into an Oklahoma State down the road.
It could.
It could be Arizona State in the middle of October. Outside of that,
looking at this,
unless DJ Lagway's playing for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah,
Baylor.
Looking at this in August, I key in on that Houston game as, all right, that's the one that we need to. That's going to be the big game for Texas Tech this season. Now, when we take a look at this on October the 3rd, when they're going to Colorado, or on October the 15th when they got Arizona State coming into town, hey, what's Arizona State doing? Is Arizona State a good team this season? Hey, we're not looking at right now because it's still a month out, but Oklahoma State's undefeated. Or not undefeated because they play Oregon in week 2, but Oklahoma State is undefeated in the conference, right? Oklahoma State, they didn't lose by 70 to Oregon like they did last year. They only lost by 30 this season. Hey, they've kind of handled business all throughout conference play with Eric Morris, the new head coach. Could that develop into your quote-unquote toughest game or biggest game of the season? And I think it could. I think it absolutely could. And even if Texas Tech goes out and drops that game to Oklahoma State or Houston, if they're one loss, I still find it pretty easy to say that they have a good chance to make that conference championship. And nobody in the Big 12 so far has been able to kind of compete with them defensively, compete with their physicality on defense. Nobody in this conference has been able to withstand that, especially now that Texas and Oklahoma are now sitting with that bright, beautiful SEC patch on their chest.
I think one of the few things that scares me about Texas Tech, and this isn't me necessarily saying this is what's going to happen to them, but history tends to repeat itself. I feel like last year I get really, really bad moments of seeing that 2022 TCU team where they just felt like they clawed through everything. And it was like, hey, look, TCU's good at football. No, not the season after that. So, but I think with Tech getting this schedule. Thank you, Whitman. I just needed to make sure you did it as well. Houston jumps off the bat as like that looks like a trap game. That looks like the one game that like I would feel 50-50 on whether they win or lose that game. The only other one I can see is if they come out, flat-footed and they just don't get a bad start is at Cincinnati, just because I feel like there might be a little bad blood floating around that stadium. Mm-hmm. Everything that's gone on over the summer, that's just going to be dudes hitting each other in the mouth. And maybe we'll kick a field goal or two. That's a UFC fight with 12 people fighting each other at the same time. So Tech just needs to be careful. They got the schedule that favors them. They've got the veteran players. Just don't mess it up.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And Will Hammond's a good quarterback. He just unfortunately dealt with an injury last season. But, if he's healthy this year, I see no reason Texas Tech can't be better on offense than the 0 points that they scored in the quarterfinal against Oregon with Barron Morton last season. And no disrespect to Barron Morton.
I will say, though, to Ryan's point, if they just don't screw up their way into the college football playoff like they did last year, that reminds me a lot of what Ohio State did last year. It's weird to say that they could not screw it up and sleepwalk their way through the Big Ten, but they avoided Oregon last year. They avoided Indiana last year. They got a bad Michigan team last year. Ohio State, we all kind of saw every week. It was like, okay, when is the offense going to take off? But it doesn't have to because they only gave up 13 points a game. They get to a playoff game. They get to a conference championship, lose. They get to a playoff game, lose. Same thing happened to Texas Tech, except they flipped the result of that conference title game. If Texas Tech sleepwalks their way through another Big 12 season, I'm still probably picking them to lose that first round game in the playoff, especially if they get the bye, because no bad team ever advances in the college football playoff. We can question whether or not JMU or Tulane deserve to be there, but one thing that I don't think you can say this, or I don't think you can not say this about the last two playoffs. Everybody in the final 8, they're very good football teams.
Yeah. 110%. Everybody in that final 8.
Maybe Arizona State that first year because of the whole bye conference champion ordeal.
See, I'd say Arizona State was the good team. It's not Arizona State, it's Boise State in that first season.
That is true.
There's no reason Boise State should have gotten the bye.
Boise went to Oregon that season and only lost by 3. And
Arizona State lost in overtime by Arizona State lost in double OT to Texas.
They did. And Boise put up a decent fight against Penn State. They were just outgunned. But I think that week 3 game against Oregon showed that, okay, we're not going to throw our hand. Nobody was mad about Boise getting that bye because of that Oregon game. And they were still also angry at Travis Hunter for some really weird reason.
Yeah, Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy that year. We'll go ahead and take our next time out for our radio listeners here. And on the other side, we'll keep talking some Big 12 football.
Thinking skills. Apply by September 1st and save with no application fee. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Shell.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more
US Mobile, just go to US Mobile subreddit. Just search for US Mobile and make a decision for yourself. If you're ready, visit usmobile.com.
Consumer Reports does not endorse products or services.
24/7, 365. We've got all your coverage of the Crimson Tide on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Moving through the Big 12 here, we talked a little Texas Tech. Let's move on to the BYU Cougars. They opened the season against Utah Tech and again at home against Arizona to open conference play. They get a Pac-12 game on the road against Colorado State. Back-to-back road trips with TCU there as well, although there is a bye sandwiched in the middle of all that. Friday, October the 9th, home against Iowa State. October the 17th, Notre Dame. The big non-conference matchup for BYU. Notre Dame's got to go to Provo, Utah for that matchup. And you can see there, that is clearly the biggest game on their schedule, as tickets are as low as $501 to go watch the Mormons versus the Catholics there in that matchup. October the 24th, they go to UCF, Halloween night, they're home against Arizona State. November the 7th at Utah. November 14th, home against DJ Lagway and the Baylor Bears. November 21st at Kansas. And November the 28th, home against Cincinnati. BYU, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. BYU is my pick to win this conference. They return Bear Bachmeier, and as nasty as that jersey number is, he played 98% of the snaps last season. LJ Martin comes in and kind of rises as a guy that can be that starting quarterback. They add Kyler Casper from Oregon via the transfer portal. JoJo Phillips is back in that wide receiver room. And by the way, Bear's brother, Tiger, the hell is that family doing with names? What is that family doing with names? Bear and Tiger Bachmeier are both playing on BYU's team here. Walker Lyons comes in from USC at tight end as well. Paki Finau, I think that's how you pronounce that, transferred in from Washington. Sonny Makassini. I'm butchering all of these names, and I do apologize. I'm not good with names. Sonny Makassini is back on that offensive line. Bruce Mitchell is back. Kyle Sfarchiok, that Sfarcioc. I feel like I did pretty well there. Kyle is a transfer here who came in. And then Andrew Gentry from Michigan as well along the offensive line here. So offensively, again, same thing. A lot of experience on that side of the football for BYU, especially now that Bear Bachmeier's got a season starting under his belt.
Yeah, this looks to me like I see the schedule and I think, all right, I think BYU can win a bulk of these games. Obviously, the Notre Dame game's probably a little scary for everybody.
But even if you go lose to Notre Dame, even if you go lose that game, which I think that's kind of a trap moment for Notre Dame, but even if you go lose that game, it's non-conference. Nobody cares.
Yeah. At Utah can be frisky, especially, you're riding high if you do come off that Notre Dame win. You got at UCF, at Utah. Obviously, Utah, probably a good rivalry game for them on the road.
Yeah.
That UCF game, though, another game to circle. You're going from Provo, Utah, down to Florida. It's it's like soup in October in Florida still. You can't get away from it down in the South.
Provo to Orlando the week after you may have had an emotional game, or not maybe, the week after an emotional game against Notre Dame. God forbid they do go win that Notre Dame game. Now you're riding high, and then you go from Provo to Orlando.
Yeah, I think a good tell for this team is probably going to be like that Arizona at Colorado State at TCU little stretch they hit there, because now you're getting into the bulk of the season. God forbid a contact sport. You're going to have injuries. We don't wish them on anybody, but they do happen. It's a part of the sport. You kind of get to see, all right, we lost this offensive lineman. We lost this corner for the season. All right, we still have time before we have Notre Dame coming to town. So you kind of get a little bit of see for how the team looks, how the roster is feeling. And that to me is my biggest gripe with BYU is I look at the roster and I look at the team and I just don't know what I see them doing. Nothing strikes me as like a nice high-powered offense, but there's just a lot of it. It's just like, I feel like this team doesn't have a lot, but that's what they want you to think.
They're consistent. Consistency is key, and I feel like BYU has been one of the more consistent teams. And Keone Sataki, I believe is his name. I know Sataki is his last name, but Kalani Sataki. I don't know where I was. Sorry, again, I'm not great with names. Kalani Sataki, the head coach at BYU, he got pretty close. Based on the reports that were coming out of State College, he got pretty close to being named the head coach of Penn State. As a writer, as somebody who also does written content in addition to the show, if you know something's coming and you're like 98% sure it's going to be a done deal, you pre-write a story. You don't sit there and wait to learn it with everybody else, because then you're late on the reaction. You're not hitting your post limits, page views, things like that, yada, 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 media stuff. But if you know something's coming and you're fairly certain like it's going to happen, not like it could happen, but you're fairly certain this is going to happen, you write the story ahead of time and just fill in some of the details later, right? Like, for example, when Kalen DeBoer was named the head coach at Alabama, there was a lot of buzz about it about 3 to 4 hours prior to an official announcement that it was going to happen. So I went and I wrote, hey, Kalen DeBoer's been named the head coach at Alabama. When that story hit, I think it was On 3 that broke it. I want to say it was Pete Nakos that did it. When that story broke, I had a story out like that, super quick. And all I had to go in, I had filled out everything, all the stats, all the details, all the information, where he was from, his past tenures, and now he's coming to Alabama. All I had to go fill in was Kalen DeBoer signed a blank. How long was the contract? 5 years, 7 year, whatever it was. 5-year deal, 7-year deal to be the head coach of the University of Alabama to replace Nick Saban. So that's what you go and do, right? If you know something's coming, that's what you end up going and doing. You pre-write a story, basically. So I feel like with BYU, though, this season, consistency is key with the Cougars here. And I feel like they've just been a gritty, consistent football team that, you expect things to happen. They've been gritty. They've been tough. They're a very difficult team to go and beat just because they all play so cohesively when you look at BYU. So, and again, no Texas Tech on this schedule, no Houston on this schedule, no Kansas State on this schedule. Notre Dame's the big game, but they're non-con. They're non-conference. I would say, yeah, you could still go lose to Utah, but I mean, you could go lose to Utah, but if you look at Utah's schedule here, they get Houston. They got to go to Colorado. Kansas, maybe Kansas is frisky. I don't know. And plus, again, it's a road trip to Provo for the Holy War. It's not a home game.
Are we willing to say that this is Utah's schedule? I was just looking I was just looking at BYU's. Okay, that's better.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that BYU's 12 games is like maybe even considerably more difficult, or at least a little more difficult than Texas Tech's?
The only reason I would say BYU's schedule is more difficult than Texas Tech, October 17th and November the 7th. October 17th, you get Notre Dame. November the 7th, you're on the road for a rivalry.
But you would say that both of BYU's hardest games are harder than both of
100%.
Texas Tech.
Again, this is looking at it in August. So right now, I would say that answer is yes. When we get into the season, if, Devon Dampier in Utah, and maybe they're not hitting their stride after the loss of Kyle Whittingham, and maybe Oklahoma State is hitting their stride with the addition of Eric Morris, maybe that shuffles that around a little bit. Maybe it's then, BYU playing Notre Dame, then it's Texas Tech going to Stillwater, and then it's BYU Utah. But yes, I would say right now, as of 1:47 p.m. on Monday, August the 10th. Both Notre Dame and Utah for BYU are harder than any game on that Texas Tech schedule. And again, I'll throw out the Texas Tech schedule so we can look at that. As of right now, going to Utah and home against Notre Dame is tougher than any game on this schedule for Texas Tech. Even though you got a really weird road trip on September the 12th at Oregon State. Go Beavers.
I
Go
think
Beavers. Go Marcus Shepard.
I think schedule is going to come in, be a big part of my conference champion determination.
And I think that's fair. And I think it should be, right? I mean, obviously we want to look at the team and how good the team actually is, but at the same time, you could be a really damn good football team. You might be the number 5 team in the country, but guess what? If you play 1 through 4, you're going 8-4 at that point. So even though BYU might be the second best team in this conference, they're playing a team that is better than them in Notre Dame. And if they're playing like the third best, like if BYU's 2 and Utah's 3, is the home environment in Salt Lake City, is that good enough to elevate Utah for one night over BYU for that number 2 spot? I don't know. That's why we can look at the paper all day long. It's what we do in the month of August. We can look at sheets of paper all day long, but these games are won on grass, or should be on grass. These games are won on grass and turf. They play, on a football field, not on a piece of paper. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll go ahead and take our last time out here for our radio listeners. And on the other side, we will give our conference champion picks right here on the Deep South College Football Show on Tide.
Longer. Well, maybe a chapter longer. Performance is so good, you'll give love a second chance. Audible. Stories that speak to you.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Hey, coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we'll talk to Martin Houston. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. Blake Toppmeyer swings by from USA Today. We'll continue our camp coverage around the University of Alabama. Another practice day. Line Grub Talks. We listen starting at 2 p.m. on The Game on Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest-running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to...
US Mobile. Just go to US Mobile subreddit. Just search for US Mobile and make a decision for yourself. If you're ready, visit usmobile.com.
Consumer Reports does not endorse products or services.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. The high today headed to 95 degrees. Guess what? It's going to feel even hotter. That heat index around 106 going to be factoring humidity with a light breeze out of the south. And as temperatures heat up, there may be a few scattered thunderstorms developing. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sun. Any rain that does move in today will taper off through the evening with an overnight low dropping to 76. After some early sun tomorrow, some afternoon storms may pop up with a high of 94, and hot and humid Wednesday with afternoon storms at a high in the mid-90s. This is meteorologist Jeff Marr from the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 95 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Did you miss any episode on Tide 100.9? Don't worry. All of our shows can be found on Spotify and Apple Music and on demand on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 AM WTBC. All right, we've gone over a couple of teams in this conference here. I'll throw back up the odds to win the Big 12 here just so that way we have them as a point of reference. Whitman, I'll start with you. Who do you have winning the Big 12 conference?
I said schedule would matter, and for that reason, I'm going Texas Tech. Their budget is just too deep. Their wallet is too thick.
Yeah.
And the Big 12 is not good enough to overcome the deficit at quarterback. I mean, a team loses a top 15, top 20 quarterback in the country in the Power 4 level 3 months before the season starts. Fast forward to a month before the season starting, and they're still at minus odds to win that conference. The conference is either really bad or Texas Tech is really good. They avoid any real threat to the conference title game on their schedule to keep them out of it. They can walk backwards, upside down on their hands into the Big 12 title game as long as their defense does a fraction of what it did last year.
And I think that's fair. Like you mentioned, no BYU, no Utah, no Kansas State on that schedule. The only team that is inside the top 4 that they play is Houston, and they get Houston at home. Ryan, give me your conference championship pick for the Big 12.
I agree with Whitman in schedule matters, and I will agree with him on the fact that Texas Tech will be playing in the Big 12 championship game. I think they're going to get dog walked by BYU when they get there.
Oh.
I think that Texas Tech will make it. They'll skate on their heels all the way through their season. They'll get to the Big 12 championship, and then BYU is going to come in with probably a two-loss team, lose one conference game, drop that Notre Dame game, and BYU is going to have something to play for, and Texas Tech isn't going to know what hit them. And I think Texas Tech is probably left out of the playoffs because of that loss. I think it'll rear its ugly head. It'll be that bad, and people value it that bad.
One quick thing. For some reason, I failed to put as much thought into it as I needed about making the conference championship, and then the fact that you actually have to win it.
Yeah.
I'm going to pair that with the fact that Ryan got me a little fired up. Texas Tech does make my Big 12 championship. However, they also lose my Big 12 title game to the Mighty Mormons.
So we all have the same pick here because
you're great. I have Gunnar Stockton over there.
Man, I'm just so happy to play for the University of Georgia. It's just such a blessing to be at SEC.
I guess we do all have the same.
We're all the same. I'm BYU and Texas Tech. I've got BYU winning that game. I think BYU's got that chip on their shoulder from the 2 games that they played last season. They understand, hey, we got left out of the playoffs because we went out and lost to Texas Tech, because we lost to the same team twice in one season. That kept us out of the college football playoff, and we had to go eat a live mascot on national television instead of potentially getting a home playoff game, instead of getting a playoff game in Provo, Utah in December.
Not to mention, I think the Notre Dame game provides invaluable experience that Texas Tech just will not have due to them scheduling.
They're not going to get
tied 100.9 interns on week 5.
Hey, man, look, Simon out here can catch a pass.
I don't think it'd be too pretty. I weigh like 120, maybe a bit north of that.
That's basically what Lottie Brooks played at for Alabama last season. So, Simon, I'm a pencil you in on that game for about 4 catches, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We got a former quarterback with Whitman. Ryan and I played offense and defensive line.
Look, hey, I'll make sure that Simon runs a nice couple of comeback routes, work himself open.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, don't throw Simon a hospital ball.
No. Well,
please do not.
Well, then I shouldn't throw. Well, I get curl and comebacks mixed up sometimes. You know how it is.
Somebody on this show knows how that is.
It's not me.
But we're all taking BYU over Texas Tech to win the Big 12 here. We'll continue moving through the rest of college football as we approach college football season. And I want to say we're about a week away from our playoff championship awards predictions as well. But we'll do that another day. Thank you so much, Whitman and Ryan, for hanging out with us here today. Coming up next for the radio, the game with Ryan Fowler from 2 until 6 on Tide 100.